We're moving to the next article. You guys are good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one could be a little uncomfortable. We're going to talk about Vermont's race-based medicine. I'm sure you guys saw this come up recently. Have you guys seen articles on this? I do have one pulled up just in case. So Governor, not that guy. That's Florida, Vermont. Vermont under fire. This is I think I pulled up Newsweek. I tried to pull up sources that are mainstream. Vermont under fire for disturbing COVID vaccine based on race, which is probably the worst headline I've seen describing this whole fiasco. Basically, they say Vermont has come under fire for expanding vaccine eligibility to individuals 16 or older who identify, which is a weird way to phrase it, who identify as Black, Indigenous, or a person of color over 2 weeks before offering all races the same access. Rhino Governor Phil Scott announced the initiative on Thursday in an effort to address racial disparities associated with the coronavirus pandemic. If you or anyone, actually, we'll just read the tweet. It says, if you or anyone in your household identifies as Black, Indigenous, or POC, including anyone with Abenaki or other First Nations heritage, all household members who are 16 years or older can sign up to get a vaccine. Which seems like a very, very strange way to roll out vaccines to me. The decision falls in line with earlier moves by state leadership and the health department to target communities who are at higher risk for contracting COVID-19 and may have more difficulty accessing health benefits. As part of our strategy to prioritize Vermonters most at risk or severe illness, save lives, we have also begun vaccinating Vermonters in communities that have unique needs, such as people who speak languages other than English and people who are homebound. The Vermont COVID-19 vaccine website states. Yes, they do state that there is non-citizen immigrants that are receiving the vaccine before the rest of the populace as well. We still have much more to do to address the significant disparities in the rates of COVID-19 infection, hospitalization, and death among Vermonters who are Black, Indigenous, peoples of color, the website adds. This coordinated vaccine effort is an important step in working with and compensated trust and community partner networks to reach some of the most historically marginalized people in Vermont. And I'll let you guys talk real quick before I get into how I feel about this. G-Dubs, you got
Rochambeau.
That's how you want me to go first?
No, I'll go first. I understand why they feel the need to do this. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think it was short-sighted, and I think that we could have done things as a state to allow everyone, regardless of color, to get the vaccine if they choose to. I think this effort is very short-sighted, because they're not actually addressing the reasons why people of color are are more susceptible to COVID compared to white people, especially in the state. Like you don't see a lot of people of color hanging out in the backwoods of Vermont all by themselves. They're more segregated, for the lack of a better term. I am too drunk to.
I think you're gonna say into urban areas in Vermont.
Yeah. They're more in urban areas and in close proximity to each other. That is part of the reason why they are more at risk than the rural Vermonter.
Yeah.
I think there was ways of doing this better than saying, hey, anyone who is 16 over who's a POC can get the shot now.
Right.
Kevin, what do you think? Do you have an opinion on this either way?
Yeah, I think what they were trying to do, from what I got from the article you read to us, was that they're just trying to get the people with the higher risks. They want the higher risk people to be, vaccinated first before the low risk people. That's all they're basically doing. And the way they worded it was a complete screw up. You know,
it was I felt like it was very Trump-tastic of him.
Yeah.
Right. Like it was like, hey, we got this issue that actually needs work, but I'm going to call it the Muslim ban or any of the other ridiculous over the top things that came it down. And I'd like to read a couple tweets from people responding to this. Oh, God damn it. Matt Walsh, conservative commentator Matt Walsh said, wildly unconstitutional and absurdly unethical. And he's a Republican, of course. If that's what you choose to call Governor Scott.
Is he, though?
I call him Rhino, but that's me. He's a Republican that can win in Vermont, which is not very Republican or conservative. And I will say, I've said this before, the only reason Phil Scott won his first one is because Sue Minter was, she was like a Bloomberg-style gun control person and wanted to ban everything.
Yeah.
And that's when Governor Scott won his first one. And then since then, the people going up against him have been wildly progressive. He hasn't really had like a moderate Democrat run against him.
Right.
Well, and part of that makes me think because he is a moderate Democrat with an R after his name.
No, I voted for him.
No, and I did too, because he was the best option on the ballot, which is often how I vote at this point in my life.
Yep.
I will say I did not vote for him. I won't say who I voted for.
We'll still pretend to love you. No, it's okay. Did you write in yourself, GW?
I did. Well, what it was 2 years ago or so when the fucking baseball player from the Red Sox were running.
Yeah.
Like
a couple years ago.
Yeah. I voted for him.
I
will say, even though it was for the Liberty Caucus Party, which is total commie party, I was like, fuck it. He's not going to win. I'll vote for him.
Right.
Writing in Mickey Mouse. I love it. Right. Chris Rufio at the conservative nonprofit Discovery Institute told Fox News Friday that the issue is a violation of constitutional rights, which I would agree. Vermont's program of racially segregated standards, which denies medical services to a specific racial group, is a flagrant violation of the 14th Amendment, he said in the outlet. It follows the logic of critical race theory, which demands that society practice racial discrimination to rectify racial disparities, but is not compatible with American law. Sadly, Vermont is another example of state neo-racism that has gained in popularity in recent years. Public interest lawyers should immediately file suit against the governor. Data journalist G.L.A. Morris added Friday that the decision seems like an ethically questionable way to address racial disparities in vaccines, which I would agree with. Vermont's decision to address racial disparities in the coronavirus pandemic, which I will correct Newsweek and say they did not. They simply offered the vaccine first. They didn't rectify anything. Really, they just drew national attention to the fact that, some Republicans are racist as shit.
Yeah.
That was my stance on it. Was like, I almost had to message Colin. I'm like, I guess you are right. The GOP is racist. I got to admit it on this one. Not every single one of them, but I'll admit that anybody who puts out a law like that is definitely not on the not on the side of everybody being equal.
No, I think the way they've handled this whole vaccination rollout is been wrong from the get-go.
I would wholeheartedly agree with that. I would agree that truck drivers and grocery store employees didn't come before teachers is a big deal to me.
Yeah.
Because
teachers,
I don't want to offend people, but teachers are non-essential completely. As much as I think education is important, I think the role of a teacher and paying somebody to educate children is far less necessary than the people that provide food to everybody else. And that I don't think they're completely non-essential, because some education is important. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to disparage educators. I just think the fact that they were the first in line for vaccines, even though they're teaching online, was asinine. And the fact that grocery store cashiers still make minimum wage and have to stand there and talk to 400 people a day who God knows who they came from wherever.
That's
like,
bullshit.
You know, yeah, you don't know if they've quarantined. You don't know if they're vaccinated. Most places, most big grocery stores and gas stations, you can't say shit if they're not wearing a mask because they don't want to cause that, social tension in their business. And the whole rollout's been a shit show.
No, I agree.
Just like most things with this pandemic. I'm glad we could all agree on that, you know? even though
frankly, the whole thing's been a shit show.
Oh, yeah.
The past year, it's been a shit show.
Yeah.
Yeah, the past year and almost a year and a month now. We're coming up on it soon.
Yeah. It's the whole fucking thing.
But hey, if it wasn't for this shit show, we wouldn't be here right now.
This is
true. Exactly.
We wouldn't be going on.
What's your point, GP? What's your point? You're proving mine.
Which reminds us that we are coming up on a year of the Drunken Under Quarantine show in just a few short weeks.
So close. I can feel it.
Oh yeah, we're about to climax, and then it's all downhill in season 2. As most shows work.
The fact that you have to have a season 2 is just...
Kevin, I was really hoping we'd change the fucking name by then, and it would be like the Drunken Underinformed show, or something like that. But no, we're rolling into season 2 of the Drunken Under Quarantine show. Hopefully by the second quarter, we're looking at a name change. But
I'm thinking July.
Yeah, we'll feel it out. So hopefully by quarter 2 we'll change the name and we'll be back to normal-ish, and we'll be performing out live for audiences again, and
I hope so.
Having fun, socially interacting, and not feeling like a leper when we go out to a restaurant.
Have you guys been vaccinated yet? Or is that not a proper question to ask?
I'm halfway there.
Whoa, okay. He's living on a prayer. No, I am not. I don't qualify until April 19th or something. So,
right.
Thank you, diabetes.
Hey, diabetes.
I was gonna say both my parents are, and that's really all that really mattered. Like as far as me, it's like, okay,
yeah. I got vaccinated like 2 months ago. So,
my sister did. Most of my older friends have been, so they're the ones that I'm really worried about, anyways. So I feel like once the high risk people are, like, I'll feel a lot better about my own personal, and not being like I need to rush to do it because they're safe.
I figured we can see if the high risk people die first, if we want to take it or not.
Yeah, and I'm like one of those guys that's like, well, I'm, I'll let the people that need it go first and not try to hop in line before, because there's a lot of 35-year-olds who don't have a diagnosed health condition that need it more than I do.
Yeah.
So, with that said, you guys got anything you want to get off your chest before we get on out of here?
I'm good, man.
Okay.
Yeah.